Caroline, there was also some news on TikTok yesterday. There was that call that the president had with Xi Jinping. And after the call, the president noted that he appreciated the TikTok approval. The Chinese readout the initial one, did not make mention of a deal, but they did say that they would respect the wishes of enterprises to conduct business negotiations. And then the president said this from the Oval Office yesterday. Let's play it.
The TikTok deal is well on its way, as you know, and the investors are getting ready. And I think China wanted to see it stay open, too. They wanted to see it. And I can tell you the young people in our country wanted to see it stay open. I think that it's a deal that's going to be great. And it's also controlled by very powerful and very substantial American people. By the way, all American people.
Caroline, are you confident that a deal at TikTok has been reached?
Yes, we are 100% confident that a deal is done. Now that deal just needs to be signed, and the president's team is working with their Chinese counterparts to do just that. Great credit to Secretary Bessent and Ambassador Jamieson Greer and our Vice President J.D. Vance, who really led the charge on this and have been negotiating with the Chinese for months. And they were able to accomplish a deal that puts America first and keeps TikTok open for all of the young Americans and all of the small businesses who have benefited greatly from selling their products and really creating a name for themselves on this highly popular app. President Trump was ahead of the curve on this. He recognized the need to protect Americans' privacy and data while also keeping this app open. I saw your comments earlier, Kaylee, and you're absolutely right. TikTok is a vital part of our democratic process, and President Trump credits TikTok and, of course, Charlie Kirk for the wins that he had with young Americans in the last election. But this deal does put America's first, and let me just be very clear. This deal means that TikTok will be majority owned by Americans in the United States. There will be 7 seats on the board that controls the app in the United States, and 6 of those seats will be Americans. And the data and privacy will be led by one of America's greatest tech companies, Oracle, and the algorithm will also be controlled by America as well. So all of those details have already been agreed upon. Now we just need this deal to be signed, and that will be happening, I anticipate, in the coming days.
Making some news there. So 6 of the 7 seats will be American held. Sounds like a deal that puts American interests first. Caroline, a lot of news happened while you guys were overseas. Right. I know those foreign trips, they can be a slog, and the news doesn't stop. And one such news event that happened was Jimmy Kimmel and his suspension. And I have seen no reporting that there was pressure from the White House on Jimmy Kimmel. There were public comments made by Carr, but no indication that there was a discussion with Sinclair or the like, but that would be lost upon much of the media. I do want to pull this up, though, from former President Barack Obama. Here's what he said about this. Interesting, he chose to weigh in. After years of complaining about cancel culture, the current administration has taken it to a new and dangerous level by routinely threatening regulatory action against media companies unless they muzzle or fire reporters and commentators it doesn't like. Did I miss something, or is President Obama keyed into the inner workings of the Trump administration?
With all due respect to former President Obama, he has no idea what he's talking about. The decision to fire Jimmy Kimmel and to cancel his show came from executives at ABC. That has now been reported, and I can assure you it did not come from the White House, and there was no pressure given from the President of the United States. And how do I know that, Kaylee? Because I was with the President of the United States when this news broke in the United Kingdom. We were enjoying the beautiful and spectacular state visit that was put forth by the royal family and the Prime Minister of the UK, Keir Starmer. And I actually brought this news to President Trump's attention. He had no idea this was happening. It was a decision that was made by ABC because Jimmy Kimmel chose to knowingly lie to his audience on his program about the death of a highly respected man when our country is in a state of mourning. That was a decision that he made, and he is now facing a consequence for that decision and for that lie. And while I will add, and President Trump is right about this, Jimmy Kimmel's ratings are in the gutter. And this was probably also a business decision on behalf of ABC. I can't speak for them. I can speak on behalf of the President of the United States. And while he's pleased with this decision, we had nothing to do with it. It was ABC's decision, and it was certainly the right one by them.
Caroline, you mentioned that he chose to overtly lie about the motive. And it's not just, late night comedy. I played that montage of some of the comments we've seen of the press denying the facts. And, I'm curious. I was at the podium 5 years ago, and you'll remember you were there in the White House. There was a remarkable lack of curiosity from the press to acknowledge the science at the time, data that said kids should go back to school and remote learning would be devastating during COVID-19. I'm wondering now, 5 years later, you interact with the press. I would never ask you to give me a private conversation with a reporter, but just generally characterizing, has the press shown any sort of curiosity to getting to the facts of the motive of the Charlie Kirk case, to speaking with the DOJ, or do you believe that same sort of self-delusion or overt sowing of a left-wing narrative still exists in your interactions?
Well, I think that the press, unfortunately, still are blinded in many ways by their liberal worldview. And they all come from the same perspective. And I watched you when you had my job, Kayleigh, and I take that same approach now, just walking into the briefing room knowing that the people in that room do not see the world in the same lens that we do in the Trump administration. And so it's my job to relay the truth and the facts to the press corps and really force those facts to break through, because they don't have an interest in reporting them as long as the facts don't align with their worldview and their perspective. And that goes back again to Jimmy Kimmel. He was trying to say that MAGA was desperately trying to blame Charlie Kirk's death on the left to score political points. Are you kidding me? The U.S. attorney in Utah and local and state law enforcement said that this killer had a leftist ideology and was driven by politics in his heinous assassination. Those are the facts, but because it didn't fit Jimmy Kimmel's narrative, he didn't want to talk about them. And so we still face that in the White House briefing room every single day. But I do think that the press are much more calm in this administration than they were in the first. I think November 5th, 2024 was a massive wake-up call to the liberal bias media about what the American people really want and what they really care about.